We're back at it, episode 28. 28 times we've been back here on this lovely little Monday, and we're going to talk Yore Town. And we have another one because apparently I can't stay away from the 70s. Maybe a past life or, maybe something in the 70s. Like, why do we keep cycling back there? Was it really just that wild of a time in U.S. history?
I don't know.
Oh, know who that voice is? That's Megh. What's up, Megh?
Hey.
Super excited to have you back. And for whoever's listening, for whatever reason, thank you as well. This is an interesting one. Another one in New York, and it's in a jail. Yeah, that's right. It's in a jail. It's pretty wild. And it's in a place called Attica, New York. So, like I said, we keep talking jails, we keep talking 70s. So either I was a prisoner in my past life or I was hanging out in the 70s, which is possible, I guess. But either way, I feel like we should just play the intro and jump right into this because it's pretty wild. What do you think?
Beat first.
Beat first. Let's go. Intro when?
Now.
Okay. Great piano work by Megh on that intro. As mentioned in the quick little introduction, I guess it wasn't overly quick, but Attica is a town in Wyoming County, which is located in New York. So Wyoming in New York, not confusing at all. There's a lot of states that do that, right?
I know, right?
Like, are we that unoriginal? Like people back in the day were like, we're just going to have Wyoming County because that looks like a mountain. I don't know what that voice was, but either way, we're going to move on. The population was 7,702 on the last census in Attica. That's in Wyoming County in the lovely state of New York. Department of Corrections. Shout out to you guys. Major employer, not only in this area, but a major employer for a lot of places throughout New York, especially small towns. I know a handful of people that are family members, made a career or making a career out of the correction system, and a lot of friends and some stuff like that. So they seem to enjoy it. Pay seems good. Benefits seem good. I personally couldn't do pretty much a life sentence, or at least a 20 to 25 year sentence in jail. Somebody has to. So shout out to all of our correction officers. We do greatly appreciate you taking care of, all of these people that are in there for the right or wrong reasons. So Department of Corrections, again, there's minimum, medium, and maximum security facilities throughout the state. And at the time of this, the Attica Correctional Facility was both a maximum and a medium security. Both of these have a maximum. The Attica was maximum, and then the Wyoming Correctional Facility was a medium. Sorry, I was thinking Wyoming and the Cowboys, and then I was thinking football that's coming up. So let us know, I guess, if you're a Cowboys or a Chargers fan tonight. They play, but either way, the facilities had been there since like the 1930s, and like I said, this became a prison town. In the place where we live, it was kind of a prison town as well. 2 jails, and unfortunately there's only one now because of cuts and all that stuff. But again, a lot of correctional officers tend to live in the area where they work, or at least travel in, or at least kind of close by. So it's kind of a cool thing, I guess, where a lot of the money at least gets pumped back into the local economy. But very, very unfortunate incident in this area. You've probably heard of it. If not, have you heard of this before?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. And what we're referring to is the Attica Prison Riot, and it is a pretty wild scene, and it's something that is very scary, and it's probably something that goes through a lot of correction officers' mind occasionally, or at least maybe when they start to get in there, like that unfortunate event where there's a lot of prisoners.
I feel like I've heard of it, but I don't really know the details, I guess.
Gotcha. And you haven't read any of the notes. And again, this was something that I did because Zach, who's taking a little bit of a break because he had a baby. So congratulations. A little bit to Zach, but a bigger congratulations to the wife. Obviously they do all of the work, so congratulations to them. Hopefully Zach will get back to writing some episodes. We do have one more in the queue that he wrote. No spoilers, but let's give him a little bit of a clue. It's in the U.S. Ha! All right. So the Attica Prison Riot.
Well done.
Thank you. Was also known as the Attica Prison Rebellion, the Attica Uprising, or the Attica Prison Massacre. And obviously it took place in this prison that we have given you a little bit of some details on. And it started September 9th, 1971, and ended September 13th, with the highest number of fatalities in the history of the United States prison uprisings.
Wow.
Yeah. So at the time, it was the 10th of notable prison riots from 1929 to 1971. But listen to this. There was 4 prison riots from 71. There were 4 prison riots in 71 and 6 in the 70s. So from 1929 to 1971, there was the 10th notable one. And in the 70s, there was 6. 70s were wild. But in this riot, 43 men died. 33 of them were inmates, and 10 were employees of the jail. All but 1 guard and 3 inmates were killed by law enforcement gunfire when the state tried to retake, or when they did take back control of the prison on the final day of the uprising. And the Attica uprising has been described as a historic event in the prisoners' rights movement. So 43 people died, 33 of them inmates. 10 were just, and it could have been correction officers, could have been civilians. There's a lot of civilians that are in the jails as well. But all but 1 guard and 3 inmates, all but 4 people were killed by law enforcement.
That's wild.
Isn't it? All right. So what really went down? I know you're thinking this, Megh, and if you're still sticking here and haven't got sick of listening to me and Megh yet, let's just jump right into this. As Megh said, feet first. Let's do this. So the uprising occurred because prisoners desired better conditions and took place within a larger context of poor prison conditions and growing activism in the late 20th century. Prisoners spent 14 to 16 hours a day in their cells. Their mail was read, their reading material restricted, their visits from families conducted through a mesh screen, their medical care disgraceful, their parole system not great. And the biggest thing that they really, really wanted to kind of take control of this was the racism everywhere. The guards treating, prisoners of race just terribly. Overcrowding contributed to the poor conditions, as in recent years, the prison's population had increased from the 1,200 prisoners for which it was designed for to 2,243, almost double capacity of overcrowding at the time of this riot.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? And obviously we talked about the racial thing, and it was pretty rough. Within the prison population, 54% of the incarcerated men were African American, 9% were Puerto Rican, and 37% were white. All of the guards, or all but one of the guards, depending on the source, so there's different stories and everything, but either way, all but either one or all of them were Caucasian or white guards. Guards would often throw out letters that were written in Spanish. They wouldn't even go through them. They didn't know they just couldn't understand it or read it. They'd throw it away. And so these Puerto Rican prisoners, obviously a little bit upset, or anybody that spoke Spanish and got these letters, and for whatever reason, they decided that it was a good idea. Again, the prison, or the guards and the people running the prison, that the black prisoners got the lowest paid jobs, and they actually subjected them to just terrible regular racial harassment, and just a terrible, terrible thing to think about, especially when we're growing up, where we're growing up. You know what I mean? It's just to think that this stuff actually occurred in not only the jails, but the world is just different time, terrible thing. But you hate to see it. But during this period of time, the culture of the prisoner activism for better treatment, everything just continued to grow and to grow. In the previous year, again, this is 1971 when this occurred, there was an uprising at another New York correctional facility, the Manhattan Detention Complex. Inmates held 5 guards hostage for 8 hours until state officials agreed to hear prisoners' grievances and take no punitive action against the rioters. Despite the promise, officials had the primary ringleader shipped, guess where? Attica, and many were held for months in solitary confinement and faced further criminal charges. Like, come on, you promise them. I mean, it's one of these things. You want to trust them because they're like, yeah, don't worry. Just everybody calm down. There's going to be no action. Everything's going to be fine. We're going to listen. We're going to take care. Now, we're just going to ship you out of here. We're going to put you in solitary confinement, and we're not going to do anything about it. but thanks for not hurting us. That's hey, I wasn't there, but hindsight, not good. All right. So then in July of 1971, remember this occurred in September of 1971. So this is July. A group of Attica inmates presented a list of 27 demands regarding improving conditions in Attica to the State Commissioner of Corrections, Russell Oswald, and the Governor, Nelson Rockefeller. These demands included improvements in multiple areas such as the diet, the quality of the guards, rehabilitation programs, and in particular, education programs. Seems feasible, right?
Mm-hmm.
The inmates also demanded increased religious freedom, the ability to engage in political activity, and an end to censorship, which they argued were all vital to proper education within the prison. The commissioner did not take any actions on any of the items on the list. So let's go to August 1971. George Jackson, a prominent member of the Black Panther Party, was shot and killed during an escape attempt in which 3 prison guards and 2 white inmates were murdered at San Quentin State Prison in California. Some historians believe that the killing of Jackson, who had worked for prisoner rights, was a catalyst for the uprising at Attica. The day after Jackson's death, at least 700 Attica inmates participated in a hunger strike in his honor. So this is just building up. And then on Wednesday, September 8th, the day before, 1971, an incident occurred that catalyzed the riot the next day. According to Blood in the Water, the Attica prison uprising of 1971 and its legacy, an account of the uprising by historian Heather Ann Thompson, 2 inmates fought during their recreation break, and a correction officer came up to intervene. One inmate had already left the area, but the officer demanded the remaining inmate return to his cell. And in the ensuing argument, the inmate hit the officer. Other inmates and guards joined the commotion, and another inmate also hits the officer. Before the violence could intensify, Lieutenant Robert Curtis, there's 2 S's, moved to de-escalate the situation. Later that evening, Warden Vincent Mancusi ordered the 2 inmates involved in the altercation to be taken to solitary confinement. But when the officers arrived at 5 company to take the inmates away, other prisoners resisted. The other inmates in 5 company. See, I hesitated because I wasn't sure what 5 companies.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
It's got to be some kind of like correction officer term, or maybe 5 company
specialized group or something.
Yeah. So excuse us for not knowing what it is, but let us know in the comments if you happen to know what 5 company is. But so the other inmates in 5 company shouted and threw. Maybe it's the area, like cell block D, or maybe it's the 5 company. Let's go with that. Yeah, we know what we're talking about. The other inmates in 5 company shouted and threw things at the guards, and one inmate, William Ortiz, hit an officer with a can of soup, resulting in him being assigned to keep lock or confinement to his cell. Things are not good. So then let's get right into this. The morning, it's Thursday, September 9th, 1971. Prisoners of 5 company were still upset, rightfully so, and demanded that officers tell them what would become of Ortiz. Officer Gordon Kelsey told them he did not know and tried to continue his routine. As inmates headed to breakfast, some managed to open Ortiz's cell door, and he left with them to the mess hall. When the command staff found out what had occurred, they decided to return all of the men of the 5 company to their cells after breakfast. But they didn't inform all the correction officers, and when officers led inmates out toward the recreation area after breakfast, both officers and inmates were surprised to find the doors locked. The inmates believed they were about to be punished, and a melee broke out, which resulted in chaos as some inmates attacked the guards and others tried to flee. The chaos spread to other nearby companies of inmates, and the uprising begins. During this stage, several guards and inmates were injured. Officer William Quinn actually died in the hospital 2 days later because of injuries that happened because of the initial riot.
So this was before
This is before
the
like
major one.
the major one. So yeah, they're just kind of walking. Of course, miscommunication and technology isn't as good, or obviously in the 70s as it is now. But there's miscommunication. They're bringing people to wreck like they do every single day. Doors locked.
Wonder if he's counted in that.
Oh, that's a good question.
That total, or if it's a separate.
Right. Interesting. So then that happens, It's noon, September 9th. Correction officers and police controlled about half the prison and its inmates, while 1,281 of Attica's approximately 2,200 inmates controlled the other half, including D-Yard, 2 tunnels, and the central control room, referred to as Times Square. Inmates held 42 officers and civilian employees as hostages. Could you imagine being family? You know what I mean? You just, you have your brother, your cousin, your uncle, your father, your grandfather, just reporting to work like always. And then the news, they don't come home and you're wondering. And man, that's got to be a little bit of some chaos too. And being back then, I'm surprised too. You didn't maybe even have some civilians, some family members, I mean, there's some hickish people that show up and try to help out. I guess maybe that's lucky that didn't happen, huh? So then negotiations, they go on for several days. But while all of this was happening, a plan to overtake the prison was being made. At 8:25 a.m. on Monday, September 13th, 1971, Oswald gave the inmates a statement directing them to release the hostages and accept the offered settlement within the hour. However, he did not tell them negotiations had ended and he would take the prison back by force if they refused, even stating, "I want to continue negotiations with you." The inmates rejected his offer, and as it appeared to them as though Rockefeller remained opposed to their demands, the mood among the inmates deteriorates. So in preparation for the prison, authorities potentially taking the prison back by force, inmates actually dug defensive trenches, electrified metal gates, fashioned crude battlements out of metal tables and dirt, and fortified the Times Square, which was obviously the prison command center. After Oswald left following the inmates' rejection of his latest offer, the inmates decided to try to impress upon prison officials that they were serious about their demands and to remind them that inmates had power over the hostages if the state was going to come in by force. The inmates brought 8 correction officers to the catwalk on top of the command center, surrounded them with the inmates armed with homemade weapons. According to the surviving inmates, they did not intend to actually kill the hostages, but rather just kind of use them as insurance in case they needed it. Shortly after the inmates and hostages were positioned on the catwalk, Oswald then gives the order to begin retaking them. Of the decision, he later said, "On a much smaller scale, I think I have some feeling now of how Truman must have felt when he decided to drop the A-bomb." I don't know if I don't like that he said that.
That's a yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even if you say smaller scale, that's a much smaller scale. Instead, you're going to go kill some innocent people. And anyways, let's move on past. 9:46 a.m., Monday, September 13th, 1971, tear gas is then dropped into the yard, and hundreds of New York State Police troopers, the Bureau of Criminal Investigations personnel, deputy sheriffs, park police, correction officers, open fire into the smoke. Among the weapons used by the troopers were shotguns loaded with buckshot pellets, which led to the wounding and killing of hostages and inmates who were not resisting. Additionally, some of the guns utilized by the law enforcement use unjacketed bullets. It's a kind of ammunition that causes such enormous damage to human flesh that it was actually banned by the Geneva Conventions.
Wow.
Yeah, not a good look there, but correction officers from Attica were allowed to participate, a decision later called inexcusable by the commission established by Rockefeller to study the riot and the aftermath. By the time the facility was reported as fully secured at 10:05 a.m., law enforcement had shot at least 128 men, killed 9 hostages, 29 inmates. The 10th hostage, correctional officer Harrison W. Whalen, died on October 9, 1971, of gunshot wounds received during the assault. I mean, they just threw a bunch of gas and just started firing. I feel like there had to be a better way.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of hostages to take.
I mean, 128 men were shot. 128 of 2,200?
Mhm.
I don't know the math on that, but it's a decent percentage of them. And the public obviously was outraged. Protest occurred. Bombs were actually set off near Oswald's office, and many lawsuits occurred throughout the years. Because of this, laws were put into place, books were written, movies were made, songs were written, poetry, TV shows, you name it, they're out there. It was just an absolutely ugly historical event that occurred. And maybe because of this event too, the people that we know that work in corrections now are much safer, and you know what I mean, and the conditions and everything is maybe it's in a better spot because of this. But I mean, that's crazy, isn't it, Meg?
It is. I do feel like I've seen a movie about it.
Yeah.
Something similar.
Yeah, I forget the actual name of the movie, but I saw it earlier. Yeah, it's just called Attica, apparently. So a movie, Attica, was released in 2021.
So very recent.
There was a TV movie that was in 1980, which was a made-for-TV film released in 1980. And then there's something called Against the Wall that was also there, which was based on the story of the Attica prison uprising of 1971. That one has Samuel L. Jackson.
When did that one come out?
1994.
Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
Against the Wall.
So I haven't seen the first one you said is too recent.
Yeah. Yep. Had good ratings, 7.5 out of 10, according to IMDb. But yeah, like I said, just so if you guys are interested and want to check it out, you guys can check out Against the Wall, then check out Attica, and then you guys are, if there's anything we missed or anything that you would like to add to it, then let us know in the comments. Anything else to add to that, or
no?
Should we do the quote?
Do it.
Okay, here's a quote. What a waste of human power. What a waste of human lives. Shoot the prisoners in the towers. 43 poor widowed wives. And that was actually written, it's a song by John Lennon. And it's the song Attica State. That was the lyrics. Like I said, he decided to write something about it. And yeah, so feel free to check that out as well. And obviously this episode and all of our research wouldn't be possible without the following sources: Wikipedia, troopersny.gov, Britannica.com, and NPR.org. So able to find a lot of different stories, a little different tactics and details and some stuff like that from several websites. But just a crazy one. Crazy one. So in the next episode, we're going to try to get out of the 70s. Shout out to all the people that lived and had a good time in the 70s, because there is a lot of wild times in there. But yeah, shout out to also, while we're doing that, the Deluxe Edition Network. Probably should have at the beginning of the show, but podcast of the month is the Terror Tuesday in the Graveyard Club. A couple of kind of cool October feels on there, and we're thankful to be out there on the Deluxe Edition Network. So check them out, deluxeeditionnetwork.com. And again, congrats to Zach and the wife on the new baby, and thanks, man.
No problem, Rob.
I'm not Rob.
I know,
I'm
that's
Matt.
not you.
No, it's not. And you guys should check out the Deluxe Edition Network, because they do a podcaster of the week. And I don't know if you knew this, but last week, your boy, Matt, me, I was podcaster of the week with the Deluxe Edition Network. So thank you for that honor.
Whoop, whoop.
I don't deserve it, but either way, super excited to be there. And congratulations to whoever the podcaster of the week is right now at the time of the release. But
Ooh.
there it is. We didn't get a dun, but we got that. So all right, that's all we got. And if you're just staring at this Yore Town hat, you can get one. Check it out. They're on the internet. But either way, can't thank you guys enough. That's all I got. You got anything else, Meg?
Not that I can think of.
All right. Well, thanks for listening, wherever you are, wherever you are. And can't thank you enough. That's all I got. Okay. Bye.
Bye.